Hey everyone, this is Andy from the Coffee with the Geek show. This is the Halloween Day issue, so there's my hat. So I'll take that off. We don't want to be too silly. I have another great guest today, and this is the last couple of guests, Andrea Tejedor and Todd. Um, shared with us about the startup weekend that's coming up at NiceGate. So we want to give a little background and maybe talk to some of the people that are behind the scenes at Startup Weekend, and also really give you, for those who are coming to NiceGate and want to attend the startup, what is it all about. So with me is Oscar Pedroso. I hope I got that right, Oscar.
You did.
Oscar comes from just outside of New York City. He's a University of Rochester alum, so for those of us in the Western New York area, we're big U of R fans. You were the college admissions officer at U of R for a while, School of Engineering, and that's your kind of background is math economics?
Yes.
And right now, you're in charge of admitting students based on project-based kind of criteria rather than GPA. Is that what you're doing now?
Yeah, that's what I was doing while I was there. I was on a committee that admitted students. It was a kind of a new plan under one of the directors of admissions there. So that was basically running
Is that the way they're doing it still?
No, I think they are doing a little bit of that. I think they're moving in that direction now, where they're looking more at what students are capable of doing as far as projects are concerned. It could be art, it could be technology. With what I was doing specifically, it was mostly engineering.
Neat. So in 2012, you did a startup weekend, and you started what's known as GradFly.
Yes.
And you came in third place for that. Can you tell us a little bit about GradFly and what that was?
Sure. So GradFly has evolved since Startup Weekend, but at the time, it was the idea that we pitched was a website that acted as a social media aggregator for finding as much as you could about colleges. So if you were applying to like 10 colleges, instead of going to 10 different websites, you could find it all in one location. But that kind of morphed into something else, where now we are a site where STEM students, science, tech, engineering, math, can document the different stages of their projects. So if you're working on a robot, you can showcase, the beginning idea all the way to the very end, and who was involved in the project, what tools did you use, how did you work in groups, and so forth.
Wow, that sounds pretty exciting. It also, you mentioned you've been a presenter at some pretty big platforms: TechCrunch, Disrupt, TED, and Startup Fest. Can you tell us a little bit about those?
Yeah, well, TechCrunch Disrupt, I was one of my friends sent me an email with a link to apply for TechCrunch Disrupt, and a ton of companies apply for that. But I figured, hey, why not? And maybe a couple months later, they sent me an email saying that I was one of 30 startups that would be presenting on the TechCrunch Disrupt stage, which is a really big opportunity. And so that was like probably one of my first moments where I was up on a stage talking to a bunch of people. It was a little scary, but it was great because I met a lot of people, and that was kind of right around when we launched the product. So it was a good validation because we got a lot of emails from people just saying, hey, this is really awesome. And then TED, I was invited to present, not so much on GradFly, but the idea of documenting projects in general, and how we can get more students into STEM education and career paths.
You also wrote you raised a small seed company, or it says 2013, and you've also been working with schools and companies. Maybe can you define that a little bit more for me?
Yeah, well, so our seed round, we received a couple of grants, and we were able to raise a small friends and family round, which just basically jump-started us into the 2014 year. So we were able to hire a couple people to help us develop the site, and also build a small Salesforce team so we could go ahead and start trying to sell this to universities. And so we started doing that this past January, and we've been able to get around 20, almost 30 schools on board to use our product and give us feedback along the way. And now we're also working with companies because our idea can be used in that specific industry as well to document projects at a very high level.
When I talked with Todd Bernhardt, he was mostly a kind of business engineer, innovator in that sense. It sounds from kind of talking with you that you've had a kind of an education focus right from maybe your background. Would that be fair to say, or?
Yeah, I think that was actually the inspiration behind why I pitched at Startup Weekend. I had this idea for quite some time, and I wasn't actually going to pitch at Startup Weekend until I was kind of coerced by a couple buddies who were kind of running the event. And so I got up there on stage, and I pitched it, and it was great. I was able to get some. Startup Weekend is composed of 3 rounds on Friday night, so you get up there and you have 1 minute to pitch, and then the second round, people vote on the best ideas, and then the third round, the audience that attends the weekend and solicits, they come up to you and solicit their skills so they can become part of your team. And that's how that worked out. It was all happened within a week time span where I'd had this idea for some time, and then thrown up there on stage and trying to make the best of it.
It sounds really exciting for those people, and again, this is my first time really, this is the first time on my radar with startup. Can you tell us what that newbie experience is like when you walk in the doors? And
yeah. So there's a good hour where you kind of just kind of settle in. You go to the registration table, put on your badge, and then you enter this big room, and you basically don't. I didn't know anybody at the time, so I just sat at a random table and was just bringing up small chat with some of the guys that I met that day that actually became part of my team, because we kind of all went around the table telling each other about our ideas. And then I happened to be the only one out of that group of guys that ended up making it to the next round. And so they were like, well, we like your idea. We'd love to work on it. One guy was a developer, one was a UI UX designer. So it worked out really well. But as soon as you get there, I mean, people are just very, very casual. It's informal, so people are just there to get to know one another before the event actually starts. And there's pizza and drinks. If you're hungry, you can eat and chat.
So you really just kind of socialize, I guess.
Yeah, it's a good, breaking the ice a little bit and hearing other ideas that people have.
Does everyone have to submit an idea, or is it just whoever wants to?
Whoever wants to. I mean, Startup Weekend events that I've been to, there are probably about 40, 50 people that go up and pitch an idea. And sometimes they'll do a last call for anyone who might have a pitch that's still in the audience that hasn't pitched. And usually you'll get some, 1 or 2 stragglers who are like, wait, I have an idea, I want to pitch. And so it could be right there on the spot that you have an idea and you want to pitch it.
So those get voted on. The ideas get voted on, and then they take how many?
I'd say out of 40, 50 pitches, probably about 25 to 30 ideas make it into the second round. So after you're done pitching, someone will get a nice big piece of paper, and you write the name of your idea, the description, who you need on your team, and you put it on a wall. And then after everyone's pitched, you have like 40 posters on a wall, and then people are provided with. They used to do it with Post-it notes. I think they were using stickers now. You have 30 minutes to vote, and the poster with the most stickers proceeds into the next round, which is where you select your team. But that whole 30 minutes where people are voting on the best ideas, you have to kind of go and sell yourself and tell people about your idea. You can either stand by your poster, and anybody who walks by, you can kind of just entice people, or what you could do too is just not pay attention to your poster and just go network with other people that are like, hey, come check out my idea and vote on it. And then that's how you kind of it's not even a popularity contest. I mean, I think it really depends how memorable your pitch was, and then how energetic you were, and whether it was actually a good idea. And I think that combination gets people to vote on ideas.
So for those interested in making that pitch, what are some maybe just general tips when you're on stage? of course, you're going to have a good idea. Most people probably think they've got that when they step up on stage. What are maybe some tips, to getting that convincing idea out there?
Yeah, I think to focus maybe on three things. You only have a minute to pitch on stage, and they will kick you off. Like I was just at Startup Weekend Buffalo, and if you went over your minute, they just grabbed the mic away from you. So if you didn't get a chance to finish your pitch, you're kind of done because nobody will ever know what your idea was. So the first 10 seconds, you probably want to spend, saying your name, what you do, and then that's it. Nobody really cares about what you do. I mean, maybe a little bit, maybe to provide some validation behind the idea, but if you go beyond 10 seconds, it just becomes a bore. Then beyond that, just jump right into your idea and explain it in a way that people will understand using maybe an example. Because a lot of people use jargon, and then people are just like, I don't know what that was. But
right.
I'd say good 20, 30 seconds explaining the idea, and then the remainder of the time that you have, quickly going over who you need on your team. So if you're looking for a developer, if you're looking for a marketer, if you're looking for a business development person, you definitely need a developer because the whole point of the weekend is to build a prototype in 54 hours. So, I mean, you probably could get away without a developer. You just need someone who can use Photoshop so you can come up with a series of screenshots because it is kind of impossible to create a full-blown product in 54 hours. But if you can kind of show the vision through pictures, then that usually does the job.
So it sounds really pretty exciting. I mean, to meet new people, to hash out a new idea, to try and breathe life into an idea. It sounds, intoxicating in a way. Is it as fun as it sounds?
It's a lot of fun. I learned a lot that weekend, and you really just have to be patient with the process. Friday night, it's kind of a mixture of emotions because you're like, wow, my idea made it up there. I made it past round 2, and then round 3, which I didn't even talk about, is fun because after people are done voting on your idea, you have to take your big poster and kind of walk around the room, and then it's kind of like selling hot dogs because you're competing with the other ideas that made it through the round, and you got to kind of be like, hey, I'm still looking for a developer, I'm looking for a marketer, anybody want to join my team? And the teams that don't end up creating teams, the ideas that don't create teams don't make it through. So that's kind of like the last stage. And then I think out of the 20, 25 ideas that make it to the second round, only half of them make it into the last round, which is probably about 10 to 12. So that weekend, you have 12 solid companies that are competing to create a prototype and then present on demo day, which is Sunday.
Wow. So tell us about your role this year at Rochester.
Yeah, so my role at Startup Weekend Education, also known as SWEDO, is to recruit as many coaches and mentors as possible. Preferably coaches that are familiar with the education space, but definitely not needed. We do have some people who have years and years of experience working at Kodak, Xerox, who are going to be volunteering their time to basically walk around, maybe work with companies that they're attracted to and that they can probably contribute the most, and guide through the weekend. So everything from like idea to customer discovery, which is what you do on Saturday, and then sort of building on some of the topics you might have discussed the night before, and then Sunday finishing, wrapping up the prototype, and then start developing a presentation, which lasts 5 minutes, and they kind of walk you through the whole way and making sure you're saying all the right things and covering all the bases.
Are you going to be a participant in any upcoming startups, and do you have some really cool ideas and projects that you've got in the? You don't have to reveal them now, but
No. I don't. My goal was to be there and be a mentor for. Aside being a volunteer, I want to be a coach as well to help any companies that might need some help. I think especially I love coaching people on Friday nights because everybody's so overwhelmed that they don't know what to start working on, and so I like to kind of break it down for them nicely so that they're very well aware of what they need to have done by Sunday. Most of the coaches come in on Saturday, so I plan to do that as well and just, again, kind of float around, seeing who needs what kind of help, and make sure that they're ready to start speaking. But no ideas, though. I wish.
Well,
One idea is is good enough right now.
Um, from your perch where you are and where you've gone, and you've certainly been a part of education. Where are you seeing education? What direction are you seeing education going in these days? Whether it's K-12 or college.
Yeah, I see a lot. I mean, it's such a vast space because you have K through 12, you have higher ed, and then you have adult education too, which is a growing space as well. And you have this clash of like traditional education methodologies mixing in with newer types of technologies. And I think one of the biggest bad rap that education gets is that it's such a slow-moving industry. So we're always trying to really push the envelope and getting professors, students, faculty, I mean anyone who's part of the education space involved with a lot of these newer ideas, and kind of show the value that comes out of using an iPad app in a classroom. So they're giving lesson plans in real time. I think that we still have a lot of work to do, though. I just based on what I've seen, is it's very hard to talk about this too, because you have the public sector and then you have the private sector as well, where you see more of these technologies, newer technologies, being adopted very quickly by private high schools and private universities, whereas in the public education system, it's hard to kind of break through that barrier and start introducing some of these newer technologies. And a lot of that is affected by state funding, budgets, what areas you're located in. I mean, there's a lot of different factors that affect how education is perceived in that particular area. But that's changing. I mean, the education technology is a growing industry, and you're seeing, anything from web apps to mobile apps, just all the different types of applications for each subject area. I mean, lots of math applications, STEM applications. There's a lot of things being created around gamification, so that students are provided with incentives to actually do work and want to learn. I mean, that's really going to be key for like the next 5 to 10 years, without a doubt.
Well, it sounds like I think you're on the pulse of where the changes are. Okay, are you ready to play the Speed Geek questions?
Sure.
I've got an app. And just click the button. And it'll give you just a randomized one. I wish I could show it, but it doesn't show up well on the screen. So here we go. Here's your Speed Geek question. So it's just a quick answer and throw it out there. So, your first one is a brand new question. Minecraft, World of Warcraft, or what other game?
Minecraft.
All right.
That's definitely sucked up a ton of my time in the past.
Yeah. We'll have to talk to you about that when I see it in high school. Right.
Yeah.
Number 2 is Mac, PC, or Chromebook?
Mac.
Okay.
Hands down.
You seem pretty solid with that one.
Yeah.
Well, let me see if we can put a new one, and it should be a little easier for you because you're young, but first storage device. So floppy disk, us old guys like me, it's like cassette tape.
Yeah, I would say floppy disk.
Okay, 3 by 5?
What's that?
3 by 5?
Oh, that I don't know. Which I was around for like the small ones and the really big ones that were like cool.
Well, at least you had a little more speed. Like I said, when I did cassette, you put it in and you walked away for half an hour, and then you had a really simple program to download it. So
yeah,
you're in good hands. And look what kids are using now. They don't even need.
I know.
Jump through. All right, well, Oscar, thank you so much for your insights, and I'm going to look forward to seeing you at NiceGate, and keep us informed of what's going on. I'll be keeping track of you.
Thank you. Definitely excited to be here, and thanks again for inviting me.
Great. All right. We'll see you.
See you later.